What is $30,000 worth? Well, it turns out it really matters what your current situation in life is. So we have two different stories involving that figure that we want to talk about. And the first is a new study of relatively well-off tech employees. So this is a survey of more than 3,000 employees conducted by Blind, an anonymous employee community app, found that 64% of workers at employers, including Amazon, Microsoft, and Google, would rather continue to work from home than receive a $30,000 raise. Now, to give you an idea of the sort of money they're making right now, Microsoft planned on an average wage of $125,000 at their Raleigh-Durham campus in North Carolina. And industry-wide, the median annual salary for software developers as of 2019 was $107,000. Now, I know a lot of people would love to stay home, I guess, if you've liked not having to commute and all of that. It's been a weird year, but that is a significant amount of money. And we're gonna get in a little bit to what it means for people in a different section of the economy. But I found it fascinating that so many were willing to turn down so much money.
Yeah, there's two parts of it that's amazing. One is, man, it turns out working from home is not a little benefit, it's a giant benefit that people care a lot about. And it turns out a lot of people can work from home, some can't, right? We can't, we gotta come into the studio, but there are jobs that you can do remotely. And so I think it's a sea change in how we view work. And I think that's super interesting, okay? The other part of it is, of course, oh my God, tech people make so much money. Okay, that there 64% of them going, $30,000? Nah, it's okay. I don't want to commute, right? That is not how most people live. Ramesh.
It's because the way the digital economy is wielded is where executives and investors have acquired assets that are worth well more, far more than any other companies in the history of the world. We have companies like Uber that are worth approximately $200 billion that have never even ever had a profit in their entire history. So we're talking about a very small number of people when we're talking about software engineers, an even smaller number when we're talking about managers. And basically, this is about less than 0.1% of the actual labor that goes into the digital economy. Yeah. Because the vast majority of laborers who actually power these technological systems are gig workers. There was a recent labor study that I reviewed that showed that the working class in this country is dominantly women of color working in the gig economy, right? And it's all of us, because all of us are being constantly surveilled. We are being micro-targeted. Data is being gathered about us in incredibly fragmented ways.
See, Ramesh is making a really thoughtful critique of tech. All of a sudden, he's having tech issues.
Alexa, release him. Anyway, hopefully we'll be able to get him back. I think it's a combination of the two things that you talked about, the convenience, and they do make a good amount of money. But like, if you make $107,000, that's a lot more than an average random American makes. But if you're making $107,000, $30,000 still seems like a lot more money. I don't know. But let's talk about.
That's why, John, I agree with you. That both phenomenons are true, right? Even at 125,000, 30,000 is still a decent chunk of that salary. And I get that the ones that are on the lower end of the average are probably saying yes, and the ones that are at the higher end are saying no. But that still leaves a big chunk of the middle going, nah, I'd rather not go through the pain in the ass of going into work. That's a big cultural shift.
Totally. Now, really fast, what does $30,000 make if you are currently unemployed? Well, it means a lot more. Take a look at this.
One ice cream shop in Pittsburgh couldn't fill open positions, so guess what they did? Raised their starting wage from $7.25 to $15 an hour, and now they're challenging other businesses to do the same. So what happened when you raised your starting wage to $15 an hour? What happened?
We received well over 1,000 applications. We received, I think, 250 applications off of Facebook. We had 200 and some odd applications come in, and this is over the course of a week. So we stopped counting once we reached 1,000.
So there, I'm not a mathematician, but supposedly if you work it out over the course of a year, it works out to around $30,000. It is a novel idea. We keep hearing these reports, like the things that are posted on the loudspeakers at Sonic, that like none of our workers want to work anymore. I guess they just haven't thought. Maybe they want to make a little bit more money. Maybe they don't want to go back to being exploited in the same way that they have their entire lives. And it turns out that when you offer them not even what we would consider a living wage that's truly representative of increases in productivity and that sort of thing, but even just the $15 that is often talked about, it is incredibly popular. 1,000 applications for one ice cream shop.
So Pittsburgh for the win, number one. Number two, look at that, man. That's the two Americas. People are desperate to just get to $15. And so the current minimum wage in the country, federal minimum wage is $7.25. That's just about that's $80 above $15,000. So $15,000 a year if you work the whole year and don't take any days off. Okay. Now, if you double it to, in essence, a little bit more than double it to $15, which is what the progressive proposal is, it only gets you to $30,000. And so that's the whole. So if you're at a federal minimum wage, and both people in the house are working, both adults in the house are working, you only get to make $30,000. And in the tech world, they're rejecting two people's salaries, full-time salaries for the whole year, just so that they don't have to go in and work. So those worlds are completely different from one another.
And remember that a huge part of is also in stock valuations and equity valuations that a lot of these sort of white collar employees have. At the end of the day, it's really a question of who's disposable and who isn't in this digital economy. The internet was not supposed to go this way, and we have to do everything we can on a regulatory level to ensure that it benefits everybody economically. At the end of the day, this is also not going to be good for these tech companies or for anyone else, because we're going to be worth less and less, all the rest of us. We're just going to be worthless. And that is really where we are heading toward, more and more with the ways in which technology is amplifying injustice and inequality.
Yeah, that's a great point by Ramesh. So the stock options will make your salary irrelevant if you work at Amazon. So they might have that in the back of their minds. And Alex, one of our viewers on YouTube Super Chat, also made a terrific point. To be fair to the tech workers, they say it's because $130,000 is nothing in San Francisco. $100,000, but living and working remotely from another city or state, that's a great life.
Great
I
point.
hadn't thought of that. That's a great point by Alex.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, because if they could move to Kansas, then they can actually afford a home.
Or even just outside of the city, I suppose.
Right, yeah. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.